I got together with professional trumpeter Andrew McAnsh in Toronto's beautiful High Park, where we talk about a wide range of musical topics, from the importance of rhythm to touring with Larnell Lewis and connecting with nature, as well as cultures past and present, through the art of music. All of that and more coming up right now.
Rhythm is what connects us all. Rhythm is what connects us all. So looking for the rhythm is looking for the connections, which is looking for understanding, which is getting closer to solutions.
I'm here with jazz trumpet player Andrew McAnsh. We've known each other for years, and anytime we have a conversation about music, it's always very deep, and I come away from it thinking about certain things in different ways. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this. Andrew, the first thing I wanted to ask you was sort of the origin story, so to speak, of how you became a musician, and if there was some sort of seminal moment that you remember that really inspired you to want to pursue this.
Well, it's a good question. I started playing drums when I was in grade 9, but yeah, in terms of a moment, I remember this like extremely well. I remember getting a little bit of cash from my family for Christmas. I think in total it was like maybe like $250. I think I was 13 and I had just finished elementary school. So I was going into high school. So this would have been, let's say, my first Christmas in high school. And so in high school, we had access to a band program. We had access to a community, where other people play instruments. Now that might seem crazy if you grew up with music in school prior to high school, but we didn't even have recorders or anything like that. And so I felt like I had a lot of nervous energy, a lot of, I maybe felt misunderstood or something. So kind of immersed myself in sports and different sort of things available, put the energy there. But there was a moment where the amount of money I got for Christmas that Christmas equaled to the dime the amount of money it cost to get this starter drum kit at this local music store, which is in Cambridge, Ontario, where I'm from, called Macaulay's. It's just this starter kit. And I'm like, this is a sign. And so I just kind of ran downstairs and it's like, I'm doing this right now. We're going tomorrow. Can you give me a ride? It's like, okay, it's pretty intense. Like, are you hungry? Like, do you need something to eat? Like, I feel like it's like, no, I need to do this right now. And it's like, that was one of the first kind of moments where I felt like I took charge of my own. I made a decision, and there's a lot of power in making a decision, and no one's going to make it for you or for any of us. And so I just felt alone for such a long time, and then I recognized what was a sign, and I trusted that intuition, and that was just a beginner drum kit. And I bought that kit, took it home, started learning a bunch of Rush songs on drums. And I didn't know how hard that was until someone told me 6 months later, and I had already learned a couple albums. So that's how I got started with music, at least. And there was an organ at home that I would just mess around in. It was more of a a feature in an Italian house, like Jesus on the cross everywhere. These little isms of the culture everywhere. In the same way, there was this organ that didn't get played, that some of the keys didn't work. And so, but also my dad's a drummer. My dad was a drummer, and we didn't spend a whole lot of time growing up together. And so it was a way of kind of connecting with him in a way. And so I felt it was immediately bigger than myself. It was bigger than music itself, essentially, is a way to sort of establish or maybe even rekindle a relationship in a way that may not have been possible without something like that. And it could be, it could be any hobby, any carpentry, just something to connect. I feel like the two of us were kind of estranged in a way. So I used, and at that point, the drums and Rush, and he also played drums in a Rush cover band when he was at the same age. And I was like, let's do this. Let's do it. And so it was nice to kind of use that opportunity to reconnect. And then, I couldn't do that in school because everybody wanted to play drums, right?
Course,
so if you come in from elementary school and you have already played drums, it's like, well, the teacher doesn't want to teach a new person who'd never played drums before the drums because it's their calling or something. So I think also I was a few minutes late to the first class because I just couldn't find the class. And music was something in my high school that was offered in grade 9 as an extra. It wasn't like a class that you take. I mean, it is a class that you take, but it was like, if you want to take it, instead of taking it for one period, for one semester, like 3 credits or whatever, you can take it as half your lunch the whole year. So you miss half your lunch, technically, but you play music. So you're basically playing music on an empty stomach. And it's like, if you made it to the end of the year, because a lot of people dropped out, then you really wanted to do it. And I really wanted to do it. And even though I didn't get to play drums in that class, I played trumpet. I just wanted to do it. I wanted to have a spare in grade 12, and that was a way to do that. And so I fell in love with it. It seemed easy. It only had the 3 buttons. It's like, cool, I'll do that. I don't want to be up there with the girls and the flutes and the clarinets. Like, that's cool. I dig it. But like, I wanted to be with like my buddy who I grew up with. His name's Brad. And he was like, yo, come play trumpet. It's super easy, 3 buttons. And I'm like, cool. And that was the first time in my life where I felt like I was in charge of my own life. Like, coming from somewhat of an overprotected environment at home, like I felt, okay, now I have the power to make my own decisions, at least in the notes that I play and how I play them. And that is enough. So that's the origin story, I suppose.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with like learning to play guitar before high school and then showing up and they're like, well, you can't do that here. Here's a
Yeah?
trumpet. Yeah.
Jeez.
Actually, it was tuba for me at first. And then I played that first semester and I'm like, this is too big. I don't want to take it home every day.
Yeah, it's a big instrument.
So then I started playing trumpet. But anyways.
That's probably helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember what made you want to play drums in particular? Like, it sounds like maybe Neil Peart was a big influence on that.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Neil was such a mysterious figure. He was just this guy in that band that was so behind the scenes when Geddy and Alex were going out and doing interviews and book signings and stuff. Neil wouldn't really be there. Neil would be doing his own thing. Even when they would go from gig to gig for a while, Geddy and Alex and the team would be on their bus or like, a sort of a consolidated mode of transportation. But Neil would be like, oh, I'm going to ride the motorcycle there. So I'll see you there. Just like,
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, there's something like maybe, and he had such a difficult life. He lost so many people close to him, and his lyrics like make that music palatable in a sense, because Rush is fairly progressive and either you love it or you don't love it, basically.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have an opinion as to whether I loved it or not. I was just doing it, and I was just looking forward to the next thing I can do. And I ended up getting a job for the weekends, like a dishwasher thing, restaurant, to just like save enough money. Okay, next month I want to buy maybe some rototoms. And so I still have all this gear. And so I eventually, over the course of a couple of years, just like built this kit, this kind of like around me. And then I ended up meeting like a good friend of mine who's a great drummer, and he like mentored me through a lot of stuff musically or non-musically, and then kind of eventually kind of got me to like, listen, like this trumpet thing, I'm pretty good at it. And there's not a lot of people, because of the learning curve, it's kind of hard to get to the next level. And around here, at least, or even Toronto, for our age group, there's not a lot of, it's like once every 10 years, someone like pretty phenomenal comes along, obviously that's changing now, for better and for worse. But, you should try to stick this out, because he also wanted to audition to Humber for drums, and he did, and he got in. And so I felt like grade 11, like I have to make a choice. And so I just put my whole self into the trumpet, and it just it's a fantastic indicator of integrity and discipline. If you can figure that out, the trumpet, you can pretty much do anything, because it takes planning, commitment, patience, vision, necessity, and then patience again. And then the other thing is that the music has to be inside of you, otherwise you don't have a chance. And so for me, when things aren't working on the trumpet, they're typically not working generally. And so I use the trumpet as a means of kind of being a barometer for my own development as an individual. So I'm not sure if that answers. I forgot the question.
That's okay. No, that's perfect. So in that time frame, was there a trumpet player in particular, or a few particular players who sort of sparked your interest to like shift your focus from drums to trumpet?
Absolutely. Yeah. Somewhat unpopular in some communities, but I mean, definitely Miles, definitely Freddie Hubbard. But in terms of someone I could sort of see myself in, Chris Bodie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, Italian trumpet player with a great tone who plays music that people like to hear and does it in a really, really palatable yet sophisticated way. It's like there's something to that, you know? There's something to the amount of, I mean, there's production quality, but then there's just palatability. He's playing beautiful songs from all, and he's using music to connect people. And no one can really say shit about his trumpet playing. He was Frank Sinatra's lead trumpet player straight out of college. I mean, there's really no doubt. It's easy to make the Kenny G comparison, but like I met Chris in high school. He came to the Danforth Hall, and I met him, and I after the show, and he was so nice. He was so nice. He waited and he was just so nice. And so, yeah, it kind of restored my faith in meeting an idol, because sometimes you don't want to meet your idols because, they're jerks.
Yeah.
Kind of puts you off. But yeah, Chris was really cool. And contrary to popular belief, he's doing a lot of that himself. Managing all of that. That's him. There's a team, but there's something so admirable about how he's able to delegate and trust your team, and then figure out the money aspect and figure out, well, it's so incredibly beautiful. And he doesn't really have a home address the last time I checked. Maybe now he does. But doesn't have a home address. He just toured. And to do that consistently and not go down the rabbit hole of substance. I mean, I don't know if he's into abusing his system or not, but he seems pretty together, man. It's admirable. But and then again, my music sounds nothing like his, so it's like
right. But
yeah,
just because you are influenced by somebody or you respect them, that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to do exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
you just admire certain qualities.
Definitely, yeah. Like I got asked recently to do a gig where I'm just playing the Ave Maria for someone's like wedding anniversary in their backyard as a surprise, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, I get all sides of this. Like, if I were the family that loves this song and got this as a surprise, I would cry in that moment. But thankfully, I connected with Chris Bodie's music to make it like, oh, obviously this can be done well and effective. And yeah, I haven't thought about Chris Bodie in like 15 years, honestly, seriously. But like, it's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, but fundamentally, he's really got his shit together. And some people think that it's a little cheesy or whatever. But
yeah, but like people are gonna, like, okay, whatever. He's doing his thing. I saw Lala Bialy open for him at Danforth on that same concert. It's like, okay, so he was able to connect Lila with Sting, and it's like, it's like it helps. It helps everyone, Yeah. Then again, like my favorite music right now is like Wayne Shorter Quartet or like Herbie and Wayne.
There you go.
Like literally, yeah, like literally, like that duo album, 1+1, between Herbie and Wayne. It's like that's incredible, and it's like there are common threads between that music and Chris's music. Maybe crazy to say that, but this is going to be public, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll link that album in the bio.
Do it up.
Check it out.
Do it up. Still there.
The bug's still there.
God, hello.
It's going to stay for the entire podcast.
Yeah.
Our number one fan.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Front row seats.
We found a cool bug while we were setting up. I took some B-roll of it. I'll cue that up right now. Pull that up, Jamie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Jamie. Where's Jamie? Who's your Jamie?
We don't have a Jamie.
You should manifest a Jamie for times like this.
Yeah. I don't have the budget to hire a Jamie right now. I gotta play all the roles.
Yeah.
So I'm of the opinion that every serious musician should play drums, piano, and sing. Even if you're not going to perform on those instruments, I think it's very beneficial to know just the basics so that you get rhythm, melody, and harmony, and you get that in an organic way that is in your ears and in your mind properly, especially with the singing.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think starting on drums has influenced your trumpet play?
Oh, a good question. I think, well, I'm always about rhythm in general. The way that I've learned languages is just through, not that I'm fluent in many, but like having, you know, English is not my first language. And so to learn a language requires, first is like you learn the rhythm of it, and then you learn the rest of it. Per kind of. I mean, that's like, I guess how I've kind of gone about it. When I was living in Japan, I would like just, it's like I would, you know, there's a certain kind of thing to it that, and then I kind of plug in the syllables and then the meaning eventually, and then the deeper meaning eventually. But the sort of framework, I guess, is rhythm. And so, how has it helped? I think it's helped, a lot. I mean, like I didn't know that like learning Spirit of the Radio or 2112 or all those Rush songs is like gonna make it super kind of way easier for me to get into some of the modern jazz or even like folkloric, like Eastern European music that I've been digging into, or some of the like, it's like it depends on how you frame it. If you can take the music of Rush or the music of Bela Bartok and consider it sort of like elitist or unpalatable or inaccessible or too complicated, and then you can look at the sort of roots of like when Bela Bartok was doing field recordings and with Hungarian grandmothers, and they were just singing songs that they made soup with. It's like, oh, it's not that complicated. It's really comes down to, okay, here's our ritual. Here's why we do it. Here's how we do it, and we do it like this. And this is the dance that goes along with it. Like they're not going to spell it out for you. It's like those types of cultural experiences are, you sort of just got to sit there quietly, take notes, and kind of draw the commonalities between other experiences. So yeah, to get back to your question, learning drums, sure, yeah. I mean, it's helped me a lot, because when the chops start to die on trumpet or I can't hear the harmony, how am I gonna? What's the first thing I do to connect with people and the drummer? Is let's have us all latch on to something, and we can all occupy different spaces as well. Yeah, because like as a trumpet player, you could maybe agree that when you're in the third set of a night of a second gig in a day or whatever, and it's like okay, you know what? Let's see what happens if I take a totally different approach and just play one note and just play a rhythm continuously. And it may be weird or uncomfortable or something for a second, but next thing you know, different approach equals a different result. And I feel like there's so many misunderstandings, and I'm glad we're beginning to talk about rhythm, because my experience as a trumpet player, even going to Humber, was I had to go out of my way to ask those types of questions. I had to kind of stop hanging with trumpet players for a second, but I love them, and just sort of like, okay, let's hang out with like the people I'm going to be making music with when I'm on a jazz gig or on a quartet gig or something, like having conversations about, okay, how can I make your life, okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, well, like, let's try it together. And it's like, people were banging on sticks and stones before Coltrane wrote Giant Steps. And not to say Coltrane wrote Giant Steps as a purely harmonic exercise, but that's the way that we've sort of learned it. I think I got lost in a game of telephone somewhere along the way. Right. And so I like to go back to like, okay, when Barry Harris comes to Toronto, which I'm not sure if he will anymore, he's 91 now. So the last time he came, I saw him in April 2019. And it's like, there's something special about, and sure, he's talking about harmony, but he's also like talking about phrases. Like he taught us a chorus of Cherokee that I'll just never forget. And he says, okay, well, like we got notes, but like we also need space. So like, what do you do in that space? It's like, you think of something. So I think the phrase was, go to town, bop. Even just that, go to town, like, you know what I mean? Like, and we would just do it. And it's like, well, like, what are you going to do? Like, where are you going to go? We're going to go to town. So let's go to town. And it's like, so I think there's something to be said for those like extremely intense sort of like your phone's off for 2 hours and you're just having a conversation. you're just learning something, you may be learning it by ear as opposed to from sheet music. You may be learning it directly from a recording. You may be learning it from an individual who is singing it like a quarter tone away from where you learned it. But it's like, what are you going to do? Tell them that they're a quarter tone away from where you learned it? Like, no. You're going to, like, like I'm learning a bunch of recordings right now, like all these like field recordings from Sicily. I'm trying to get back into my mother's side, at least, roots. And every single one of them, I have to like put my tuning slide out to somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this would be much easier in A minor, but I'm going to have to play it in B flat minor in order to learn it. And then maybe when I put it in front of a band, I guess G minor or A minor on trumpet is going to be easier for them to read because we may not have that much rehearsal time, even though there is probably going to be a grant involved. And people aren't going to practice it because that's just the way, it's like, it's hard to trust someone to practice music, even if you pay them in advance. If you give them all the deliverables, all the sheet music, all the MIDI, all the everything, it's like, what do we have to get you to do to make this a priority? Because this is extremely meaningful to me. How many roadblocks, how many instances of, oh yeah, I guess I should have checked that email. It's like, how much personality management, like how far does a leader have to go in order to get that across? And that's what producers are for, and I don't have a budget for producers. Like, well, ask a friend. If he says no, it's probably not your friend. to put it lightly, it's like, investments in trust and creating win-win situations. I know I'm rambling right now, but ultimately, rhythm is what connects us all. Rhythm is what connects us all. So looking for the rhythm is looking for the connections, which is looking for understanding, which is getting closer to solutions. And so that may seem esoteric, but I really do believe that incorporating some simple rhythm exercises into every musician's development can only be beneficial. And if they feel like they're forced to do it, like one might be forced to learn classical piano at a young age at a conservatory because, mom might come home from work an hour later. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many ways that things get like meddled and the music is like so secondary or tertiary. But rhythm is so overlooked. It's so overlooked. And when I went to Boston to study with like Danilo, it was so fucking great, man. It was just so great. And even if you don't get into that program or whatever it is, it's just happenstance. You can, like, there's still resources available. There's still, they got to be resourceful. Like, ask questions and and there's a reason. Like, everybody sounds good, right? Everybody sounds good. Everyone has the resources to sound good. Even if you don't have a degree in this, it doesn't matter. Everyone sounds good. Everyone's playing well. But there's a reason why not everyone is playing.
Right. And I think a lot of it comes down to, like you were saying, it can be like pulling teeth trying to get somebody who's going to prioritize your music. And when you do find those people and you know that they're going to take it seriously, you're calling them over somebody who, maybe has more talent, quote unquote. But,
well, yeah, definitely.
Like if you know that they're going to take care of what they need to take care of, you're going to call that person every time over like somebody who's got flawless technique or whatever.
Oh,
Obviously,
definitely.
there's still a certain standard that you need to uphold, but there's no shortage of people who sound good.
Yeah, you got to be reachable.
Yeah.
Like the way to know what a band leader wants truly is to try being a band leader once or twice. And it's like, oh, here are all the things that we blame band leaders for, like, oh, the money, or like the situation, or the rehearsal wasn't this, or the charts aren't taped, or the, whatever it is. It's like, okay, you try it.
Yeah.
You fucking try it.
Yeah.
Then what? Like, okay. And then the next time that happens, it's like there's a bit more understanding. So it's good to work with other leaders or other, like the great Alan Watts once said, when two thieves, or I think he was quoting someone else, but when two thieves meet, they need no introduction.
Right.
It's like it's hard to find people that you can connect with on a deep level without saying a word. It's like, you gotta search for that. That's some blood stuff. That's some family stuff. That's some, who can you really trust when it really comes down to it, And in order to get trust, you gotta give trust. And that's another hard thing, because every time your trust is broken, it's harder and harder. It's like every time you love a little bit less. It's like, you don't have to, but it's like that it's like there's a callus kind of grows around your heart. It's like, it's like, but the only, like, after cynicism, the next logical step, if you want to move forward after cynicism, is courage. It's always fucking courage for some reason. I mean that. And it takes courage to have courage. So, like, yeah. And, like, your life will shrink. I'm going to make general statements now. Your life will shrink or expand depending on our level of courage. The comfort zone, when Wayne talks about, in Herbie, stepping into the unknown, it's like the only thing constant is change. So if we know that, then how can we possibly be attacked? And I struggle with this too, man. I'm going to be probably moving or something. So, like, some situation is upon me, in which the more I genuinely try to reach out into the world for meaning or for connection, the universal resistance is like, we're not totally ready for this yet. We haven't seen this yet, so we're just going to make it hard in small ways. But if you're aware that these things are going to come up and happen and try and stop us, you just I know this one before. I've been here before.
Yeah.
You just go around it, and, like, resistance, it doesn't like that. It doesn't like when we outsmart it, because it tries to. It's like subliminal advertising. It's like every time I see the FedEx logo, it's like, oh, I see that arrow. But it's like, I'd be silly for me to be just skeptical, because they're trying to trick me with this arrow in a subliminal sense. It's like, no, it's a business. They're trying to get mail delivered in a way that isn't related to government, because we all know how that can fucking work out.
Especially right now.
Yeah, trying to employ people and get things moving and maybe make a little bit of money along the way. So it's like, you can't. It's easy to criticize. It's so easy to criticize. So, yeah, everyone should learn some drums.
That's funny. So we left off. You're in high school. You were playing drums, and then you picked up the trumpet.
Yeah.
Eventually, you end up going to Humber. That's where we met.
Yeah.
Andrew and I have known each other for, I guess, almost 10 years now.
Roughly, yeah.
But then after that, you mentioned studying with Danilo in Boston.
Yeah.
Why don't you just speak a little bit about that experience? Because I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
A lot of listeners might not be familiar with that program. And
Yeah, well, it's called the Berkeley Global Jazz Institute, and it's a master's program. And I was in the second year of it, so there's an inaugural year, and then I was in, I guess, the second year of it. I was looking at other master's programs, but not so much music performance. I was looking to go into, like, education, OAZ and stuff like that. My grades weren't high enough, so I didn't get into that. So I just applied on a whim to the Berkeley Global Institute, and I got an introduction. I subbed into a rehearsal where Danilo and Brian Blade and Patitucci were in town for the Pan Am Games. So Roberto Alcapinti, who, man, he's been so good to me. Shout out to Roberto. I love you, man. He's so, and he's like another one of these incredibly generous types that just is able to see possibilities and connections and just creates connections. And yeah, so he was able to introduce me. Thankfully, I was subbing for William Sprandi, I think, or Kevin. One of them. I mean, I forget exactly, but I was there for the first half of the rehearsal, and at the break, like, Roberto introduced me, and I didn't play any solos or anything. I just kind of played the fourth trumpet for half an hour or an hour and a half, or sorry, yeah, it was about an hour. And I just sort of kept quiet and my best behavior, and whatever. Tried to make pencil notes for who I was subbing in for, and they introduced me to that trio. We talked for, I don't know, 2 minutes, and then I left. And then Roberto wrote my recommendation letter, and I got into the program, and it was just, it kind of like affirmed a lot of what I kind of felt deep inside.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully for that type of master's program, which master's programs typically offer a type of specific learning for students that I think undergrad programs can try to get to. But overall, I think in the undergrad programs, they're really trying to just make sure that we're all sort of on the same page, and We all, it's kind of a cookie cutter thing.
Right.
We're not really designed for 4 years of the same development, and that's why, and those are Danilo's words. And so he does his best to get into, where is the student resonating? How can we use this situation to bring out what's best for that student, to create conditions in which the student can thrive, and doing that in balance with 20 other students in a sort of an isolated environment. So some things about the environment is that people are coming from all over the world. I was the only Canadian. And as much as we talk about music, we talk even more about how music can be a vehicle for social change, raising awarenesses for injustices. And this is something that I learned at the Institute in the first week of the orientation, was that even the semantics of certain words imply something that can take us down the wrong trail. So, for example, music is a universal language. Okay, well, how's it a language? Like, well, we communicate things. Do we? Well, I guess. Like, okay. Now, if we said music is a universal experience, would that be something that is a bit more fitting? It's like, I guess so. I guess that would make more sense. It seems a little bit more indestructible that way. Music as a universal experience. So, kind of, that was, my springboard. And introducing ideas like, okay, well, we're all coming from different parts of the world. We want you to focus on like a project for the end of the year that you couldn't do in a week. Let's say you couldn't even do it in a month. You have the next 7 months, 8 months to think about it and to use the resources available here and the content, the facilities or whatever it is, and to go beast mode and to just help each other reach all of that and have difficult conversations. And, this was the year Donald Trump was elected. So I woke up and I woke up and looked at my phone and was like, oh no, he's elected. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And a part of me is thinking like, okay, well, maybe it's not the worst thing because, we survived Bush and 9/11. We survived, the Cold War. Like maybe it'll be okay. And so I go into school, I go into the Institute, and the vibe is just so bad. It is so bad. And I learned in that moment, there are people in this room, let alone in this world, that are now directly afraid for how this is going to impact them. That I didn't feel that.
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, well, this is just a little change up for a few years. We'll get back to it. And although that might be in some parts true, like we didn't have I think the forum for that day was Adam Cruz, Kenny Werner, Terry Lynn, talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. And what they talked about is how are we going to get through this? How, like, what are some solutions? How are we feeling? Everyone comes up to the microphone if you feel comfortable. And some of the stuff I heard, I would have never imagined. Like, now this girl from South Philly is afraid for her life, her brother's life, her mother's life. She's such a good friend of mine, Black woman. I have to say that because that's what it is. It's like, and so I learned my place as a white man in America that year, as a white Canadian. Like, we are so unbelievably lucky. I was brought to tears, like both out of necessity, out of shame, out of my own good intention. There's a couple moments where it's like, Andrew, are you sure you meant what you said? I'm like, yeah, but I meant it in the good, like with the best of intention. Like I didn't mean to cut off my friend, or was like basically finishing the sentence from someone for a friend of mine who her English is her second language, and she was kind of looking to me to do that, like to help her, and I did that, and then I realized that I was speaking on behalf, I was speaking on behalf of someone who couldn't speak for themselves, or so I thought. And even though it's like, okay, I had to check myself. I had to check myself. I had to check myself. I have to just constantly, and this is an era, man. I'm really excited because like, it's uncomfortable. It's constantly uncomfortable. And as in tune or woke or whatever we think we are, we're just getting back to that place of our comfort. As much as we think we're getting there, it's like no, we still just got to listen. Stay out of the way. I had so much music planned to release, but it's like I'm just gonna stay out of the way on this one for a while.
Hmm.
It's like no. So what did I do when I was there? If someone's coming from economically riddled Greece right now, and they're writing music about that and bringing awareness to that, and maybe a way to maybe create a school or environment or a foundation in order to, so like my good friend Vasilis did that, and he started his foundation. Everyone's just kind of starting, kind of going back to where they're, born, and doing their thing. And so I had a choice to come back here, and it's like, well, what do Canadians like? Where's our struggles? It's like, well, like wait a second, like there's an Indigenous conversation, which at the time, 2015, 2016, was kind of beginning to occur,
Hmm.
but it wasn't really a national story yet. Be- the conversation wasn't really being had, and so I decided to make music inspired by me learning more about the Canadian Indigenous histories, specifically in the Great Lakes region, and you know, going out and about and doing interviews like this, and just listening and taking notes, offering, if I can't help, how can we make the situation better? Started filming a documentary, which is still in the works, when the protests in BC started happening
Mhm.
a year and a half ago, or maybe almost 2 years ago. The documentary had to come to a halt because they needed to be on the front lines. You know, like in hindsight, it's like, dude, I should have just gone out there. Like, I mean, maybe for the documentary's sake, but just for the sake of the human beings, like protesting the basic human rights.
Right.
So, I mean,
And that has to do with the pipelines.
the pipelines, but also the sort of restructuring of treaties, and the sort of spilling of oils, which is related to pipelines, but also just kind of just the basic human rights, just
Right.
basic human rights.
Hmm.
Pipelines aside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shortages of water and
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, it's just one thing stacked on another, and it's like, well, in order to understand this conversation, we need to dial it back. We need to really, really dial it back. Which then I got really sick, like, just started having injuries, because it's like when you start taking on the world's problems as your own. Maybe I'm an empathetic person, I don't know, but it's like things just start happening to your body, because you take it on, the responsibility. So now I'm kind of learning what I can do and what I can't do by myself. You know? Like, one thing Danilo said, he would always talk about this African proverb, which was, if you want to go fast, go alone. Go ahead. If you want to go far, go together. That means a lot, because going together, got to trust people, got to communicate with people. They got to trust you. the longer, a longer feedback loop.
Right. Yeah.
So the instant gratification isn't going to be a thing. Right now, the culture is all about instant gratification. It's been that way. But the keys to success in that realm is delayed gratification. And that's, the trumpet, we can agree, is
Yeah.
yeah, delaying gratification equals success, basically, with,
Yeah.
with that. So,
Yeah. And when you're working with a team of people who you can depend on, if you're going at it and trying to do everything on your own, eventually you're going to burn out. But if you
Yep.
have people who you can pass the baton to, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and work together with, and
Yeah.
delegate things and play to people's strengths,
Yep.
then you can accomplish more
Way more.
as a group than each individual would be able to accomplish separately. Like the sum is greater than or the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And that was a learning experience for me. John Foster and I spearheaded this project called Collective Order, which it started as John and I, and then it ended up being 24 of us plus a production team. Yeah, like the last one, like when I came back, I had a lot of ideas and a lot of ideals too. So, it's like balancing that with, okay, what's going to work? What did we write into the grant? How much money do we have? How are we going to do this? Like, because I kept proposing things. I kept proposing additions, like, and I tried to do it as tactfully as I could, but again, it just, and it puts strains on communication. It puts strains on relationships. I could have been a lot better about certain things, and that was a learning experience for me and for all of us. Just trusting each other, just to do things. So, but like I didn't see a project like that anywhere before we did it, and like nobody made a living off of it. Nobody, it was just something to try.
Right.
We tried it. We did 3 albums. It was fun. It was really fun. Like I was in a very very tunnel vision headspace at the time, and that like you could be correct and wrong in the same instance, and I learned that. It's like, okay, this is going to be meaningful. I wanted to bring in, someone for, whatever. I just wanted to like try some things. Like I was getting ahead of myself, and I had sort of absorbed a lot of Danilo's mannerisms and sort of future thinking and stuff. And, it requires a team.
Right.
It requires a team. It requires trust and patience on both ends, on all ends.
And so logistically and in terms of the writing process for that group, I know a little bit about it because I've seen you guys play and I know the story, but just maybe explain how you would work together and how you would delegate things and just a little bit more about the actual process.
Yeah. Good question. I keep saying that, but it's true. Well, so man, John and Connor were like with the just the behind the scenes organizational stuff. They were literally doing all of that, and so they were really setting up a lot of spreadsheets and things to firing off a lot of emails, a lot of doodles, a lot of it's like anything else except coordinating 24 people for not only if it was just a rehearsals and then recording, that's one thing, and that's something that like here in Toronto we're kind of famous for. We kind of get the grant, rehearse it to the point that it's like recordable, record the album, tour the album, done. Project over in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And maybe there's like a second installment or third installment if you get said money. But in terms of like creating a culture, going together, that requires systems. And so we had a lot of we would try to meet in person, as much as we could, because so much that can be said, in person, we can sort of like get past misinterpretations of tone via text, via email. This person didn't get back to this email within the hour, and so, or within the day, so maybe they're not as interested, but we really love their music and we want to, see if we can make it worth their while to, so it's like constantly adjusting to everyone's standards of how much of their time do they want to be putting into this? How much of their round the clock energy do you want to be putting into this? Just sharing visions of the project. I brought the vision of doing an album based on our cultural backgrounds and or experiences.
Right.
And so, that was kind of new for the collective, which I'm sure everyone wanted to make music about that, but it's like it sort of opened up a pathway, and especially for like younger composers that maybe don't have the type of extroverted leadership qualities that are required, not necessarily extroverted, but like the sort of qualities to endure their own artist recording projects start to finish. Maybe maybe they just wanted to record a tune of theirs and have it done in a professional setting, filmed and with a publicity run, and so I was kind of doing it for us musicians and us as a collective culture here in Toronto.
And the interesting thing about the collective order is that it's not so much a band as it is a community.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it's
mean,
very rare if
we
ever
tried,
that
yeah.
all 24 of you are playing. Like, it's not a large ensemble.
No,
It's
we didn't do it like one of those grand things. But
no, you just like different combinations of this pool of musicians.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's a
exactly,
unique
it's like
concept.
it was cool. We tried our best. It was totally an experiment, and yeah, we made 3 pretty darn good records. I'm pretty happy with them, and I learned a lot on the way. Oh goodness, oh my goodness, did I ever learn a lot on the way? Yeah, so yeah, it was great to also see people come out of their shell a bit. You know, like some of the younger, not younger, but just it's like some man like Ethan Tilbury, man. I've always kind of seen him be fairly reserved, and like when you get him going on something, he starts going, and he's an amazing musician, a great bass player. He wrote something that was based off of some Celtic music, like some Irish Celtic music. Like, oh, that's cool, just to kind of like experience him, watch that recording come to life, like that track that he submitted come to life, and the reasons that he had going into it, and how that changed as the recording went on. It became less about the music and more about the song, like the culture, the story, his mom. So when it's time, we want like an email comes in, like we want to have maybe like a couple artists from Collective Order come in and do an interview for this radio station. It's okay. Well, who do we send? It's like, well, okay, well, let's have Ethan on this one. It's like, great, and he got to talk about. It's like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. He got to talk about something that like that was there, but that just needed maybe a setting in order for
Right.
it to surface, and maybe that might lead to other stuff. It was really, really inspiring to see that, man. And along with everyone else, man, everyone put so much time into that project, so much understanding and patience, and we're all just trying to do something that we hadn't done before.
Right.
That takes something. So yeah, it was a fun project.
Cool. So, something else that I wanted to talk about with you today, and it's something that we've talked about before that's really changed the way that I approach music rhythmically, which, as we've already established, is so integral to being a musician and just being a person. Everything has rhythm. You spent some time in Boston as well as in different parts of Africa studying some specific rhythms that I would love if the listeners could learn a little bit about today.
Okay. Well, I learned it from this guy named Jerry Leak initially. So we had this rhythm class at Berkeley, 9 a.m. on Wednesday. It's like a 3-hour class, and your brain is exhausted by the end of it because it's like you're reframing your entire everything about Western music. I say Western music because there's so many commonalities that I was able to draw from learning this. So, okay, let's see. So, I'll back it up. Okay, so the Ewe people of West Africa, Ewe and Ashanti people of West Africa, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of this, but there's their music. I would highly suggest going and doing some research, just typing in Ewe and Ashanti West African music, not just the drumming, but the music itself and all the melodies that they sing. And so essentially, our teacher Jerry was able to break it down in terms of how to practice it into a 3-part system, which is voice, clapping with the hands, a bell pattern typically, and our feet, which is going to sort of anchor us into a position. And so, a very simple exercise that he taught us, and that was common in the program, like Danilo would reinforce it, and it became sort of a test at the end of the year with a twist. There's always a twist, isn't there? Basically, the bell pattern is what's referred to as Agbekor rhythm, which is this. So that's the bell pattern cycled twice. And so keeping that bell pattern in its place, we can introduce different positions, which we can't do it with our hands necessarily if we're using our both hands for this. but we can use our feet. Oh. Right? So the first exercise is to see if you can have a conversation with that. How you doing?
All right.
Good. I haven't done this in a while.
Yeah, it's tough. As soon as I start speaking, the rails
Yeah,
start to come off.
it's not easy. So that's the first thing he gets you to do. And we're going to be going through the 3 positions in 4/4. First triplet, second triplet, and third. And once we get a handle on that, we'll move on to the 4 positions within the 3. So
the 4/4 is really more like 12/8, right?
it's more like 12/8, but you're right. I shouldn't say 4/4. We really shouldn't say 12/8. The way that this music is learned in terms of a folkloric setting, there's really no one, and so it's our Western minds are saying, well, wow, how can we make this fit? But for the purposes of the video, we'll say that the one is going to shift, or maybe the one is not going to shift.
Right.
The foot
But
is going to
in any
shift.
case, there are 4 foot taps in the space of the
equal
epic or
an
rhythm
equal amount apart
of the bell pattern. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Should we wait for the helicopter to pass?
That's a little
cool.
too much.
That's all right.
You
Hello.
can't.
Thank goodness we're not being watched or listened to. Shit, we are. They know what we're talking about. They don't want anyone to know about this stuff, man. I know. It's deep in the vault, man. Illuminati rhythms. Deep land rhythms. Yeah. And so the way that these rhythms were described to me, like in my experience, like studying them with like African musicians, was like where do these rhythms come from? And I was told it's like come from the land. Like everything is vibrating somewhere, and so you'll find that there are variations on themes everywhere. The trees are different because of the circumstances here than they are in Ghana, than they are in Belize, than they are in Italy or whatever it is. And so it's the vibration of that land that dictates those variations, and also what the birds sing. So, and oftentimes what the birds sing and what the humans sing are usually pretty similar melodically and harmonically and rhythmically. So it's like, okay, you just tap into the land. It doesn't even have to be personal anymore. It's just like we're just kind of a vehicle emitting this thing. Like we don't really get upset when a baby starts crying, do we? It's frustrating, but we don't judge it. But why do we judge each other? It's just the baby's just doing what babies do. In the same way we can do what humans do, which is make music, which is how it's how we connect with like the unknown. It's how we connect with the ancestors. It's how we connect with the future and the past, all in the same moment. So these rhythms are cool for that. So I'll do 2 in 1, 2 in the second triplet, 2 in the third.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
One. The kids were dancing. See? Rhythm connects, the kids know. Parents are like, no, don't talk to them. But the kids know. So that was 2 of 1, 2 of 2, and 2 of 3. Right. So as an exercise.
That's cool.
So if we were to go, let's say 2 of 2, 2 of 1, 2 of 3, let's try that. So 2 of the second triplet, followed by 2 of the first triplet, followed by 2 of the third triplet.
Okay, let's do it.
And then end on 1. So 2, 1, 3.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and then to 3.
Ah.
Back to 1. So you can mix those up. You can try them at that tempo. You can try it way slower. You can try it. Eventually, you'll want to do it faster. I thought I had it together because I was doing it fast, and then Danilo for the end of the year thing, the end of the year test. It's okay. So do the 4, and then the stomps are going to be you walking towards me, almost like you're teaching a kid how to walk, or something like that. So I'm walking towards him, dun, dun, gung, gung. But the difference is that he was going to be a metronome. He had drumsticks, dun, gung, gung, gung. And I'm like, I had done this for 7 months every day, but I had never done it like this.
Mm.
And so I tripped. I had to do it a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's only so much that we can premeditate.
All right. Speaking of which, let's try both of those examples again.
Sure.
And yeah.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and then 2, 1, 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice. And then the second one?
Yeah.
So 2, 1, 3.
Yeah. The 3 one's tricky for me. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it's kind of like a boom, boom.
Yeah.
3, 1. Yeah, you got it.
Cool.
Nice. It's hard, man. It's impressive. Anyone I show this to is like, and it's like, oh, it takes a year. Takes a year roughly to, I mean, it doesn't have to, but like, oftentimes it just takes time
Yeah.
after a certain point in someone's life. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I remember when you first showed me this around a year ago, actually. I practiced it so much and I got it pretty together in a couple months, but I haven't really practiced it in that way.
Oh, with the
since
combinations?
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's always different ways to.
and doing this has made me realize that in my playing, I'll often use it like starting on the 1,
Mm.
sometimes on the 2, and rarely ever on the 3.
Mm.
So I guess I should practice the 2 and the 3 more, especially the 3.
If you want. I mean,
Well,
it's like it doesn't.
totally.
It's one thing.
It's an opportunity to learn something, right?
Yeah, it keeps you young in a fun way. Seriously, it keeps the mind fresh. I was doing this a lot for a few years, and then I got a call to sub into Larnell Lewis's touring band, or band, which he had some tours booked, and man, like very helpful content for Larnell's music, like Larnell's style. It's coming out of the West African thing. I mean, he's obviously coming from the Caribbean. Those patterns, those things are extremely valuable in order to get into a domain that I wasn't really invited to before.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how to begin with that, and so this kind of gave me something to do on my own, sort of, and helped me understand a lot of black music. Like, basically, it's a good start. It's a fantastic start. And yeah, like when things get counted in ways that we don't expect it to, even though we have the pattern down, we rehearsed the song, we practiced everything, then it's like, okay, I guess the one thing that's going to trip us up now is like, okay, well, there's the monitor mix. The band skipped dinner because of the situation. These pants are feeling too tight because I did laundry right before a tour. It's like there's so many things that could trip us up. The way the song is counted in rehearsal, we over warmed up. Like so many variables. Like I asked Larnell once, like, so when you like are doing a solo and you drop a stick and you like recover flawlessly, and he's like, yeah, I practiced that. It's like he knew what I was going to ask because after a while you just see patterns. The way to prevent chaos is to anticipate it.
Right.
Like face the fear itself, and then it's not a fear anymore. One thing Michael Jordan said, and that I started watching all these MJ interview clips after The Last Dance. So heavy.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. But like work ethic eliminates fear. I mean, that's okay. And then it's like, well, what are we going to put our work ethic into? That's where we need mentorship. That's where we need guidance and community and trust. So courage and all that good stuff. So yeah, glad we're doing this.
Me too.
Um,
Thank you so much for
oh,
for
of
coming
course,
out,
of course.
for sharing your perspective on music
Yeah.
and life.
I want to get to the 3 though. It seems like you're wrapping up.
Oh, not necessarily. We can.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can go to the 3, but
sorry, dude.
let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't sleep much the past week, so you got to forgive my candidness. Okay.
Just excited to show y'all some rhythms.
You got a pillow on my butt.
Yeah,
One day.
We've been sitting like this for like 2 hours now. It's
Yeah.
starting to get uncomfortable, but we're doing it for you and for us. This is fun.
This is for me.
Yeah.
This is for me. It's for you guys if you want. Only so much I can do. This is for me. Okay. So we did the 4 and a combination, basically, like a variation of that. So now we're going to do the 3. So we're fitting 3 notes into the span of that bell pattern. So it's going to be based on 16th notes because they'll be separated by 4 16th notes as opposed to 3 triplets. So in the same way that 4 triplets make 12, 3 4-note 16th note patterns make 12. So either or, we're adding 4 and 3 in different ways. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I have to find a better way of explaining that. But generally, 4 triplets equals 12, and 3 4-note groupings of a 16th note equals 12 as well. So takata, 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 takata equals 12, and takadimi, takadimi, takadimi equals 12.
Right.
So that's that. Want to try it?
Yeah.
So the bell pattern will be here. So he's on it. 1, 2, 3. 1. 2, 3. Sorry.
3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Boom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
So that's that. So try that at home. See if you can hang with that for a little while, and maybe we'll try the second, third. And I didn't know that a 4th position even existed until I gave this to you, and you came back at me. It's like, yeah, like there's a 4th one. I'm like, what do you mean? I've only practiced 3 and 3 and 3 and 4. It's like, no, there's a 4th one and the 3rd one. I'm like, damn it, Kyle Windjack, got me.
Right, because if you're dividing by triplets, then there's 3. If you're dividing by 16th notes,
Yeah.
4.
Perfect. So seriously, like I practiced it for the whole year.
Another thing I like to do with this sometimes is like accent every other one. So it's like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And I'll use that as a ride pattern a lot.
Nice.
Like just like hitting the bell on every other stroke to get that accent.
Yeah.
You
Run
get
with it.
extra syncopation that way.
Yeah. Eventually, just like they introduce like the basic exercise, and then it's like we get to run with it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sweet.
Anyways, let's get back to
the 3.
Yeah, the displacement.
Okay. So we'll do two of each, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So first position, second 16th, first 16th note, second 16th, third 16th, and fourth 16th with our foot. And so yeah, typically we would count it in with the bell. So not saying 1, 2, 3, 4 necessarily.
Okay.
Would just be going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky. So yeah, it's always good to slow it down. I would recommend having a metronome. That makes it exponentially more difficult, but also exponentially more valuable.
That seems to be the way it goes, doesn't it?
Yeah, metronomes are like universal truths. It's like non-negotiable. Use a metronome always, or like a friend or
Friends can be metronomes.
just something that like can't be negotiated. So like a metronome is good. You can't really negotiate with a metronome.
It's a solid reference.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So would you like to try another variation?
Sure. What do you got?
Well, then we can combine maybe two from the 4 and 2 from the 3. Maybe we can do
Okay.
the second. I don't know. I'm just pulling this out of my extremely sore butt. We can do maybe the second and third of the 4/4. So second and third triplet, and then maybe the second and third of the 3. So the second and third 16th notes. I've never done this before. I'm just
Yeah, just like random combination. Maybe even
Yeah.
like a good sort of transitionary one would just be to go from the 3 to the 4.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
on-
Let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
do that.
Definitely, if you're following along at home and
I'm getting ahead
you've
of
never
myself.
done this before, like that's
Yeah.
probably a good place to start. So we'll start on the 3, and then we'll go to 4 after 2 cycles.
Perfect. So 2 of each within the 3, and then go to the 4.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So,
Okay, it's gonna
count it in.
reposition these tails. Pandemic booty. All right.
Oh, I was saying just go instead of doing the displacement there, we're gonna go to the
like
the 12/8 version or whatever.
Oh, I see. I see. Got it.
Yeah.
So like we'll stay in the first position in both.
Yeah.
I see. Got it. Go ahead. Go back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great.
It's tight.
Yeah, you can do that with all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so now let's try the one that you were suggesting before,
Sure. Okay.
which
so-
was the same thing, but
No, I like what we're doing. Just like we did 1 and 1, and now we can do 2 and 2.
yeah, okay.
Okay, cool. Let's do that. I like that. And then I want to get to the 8. The 8 is something I discovered recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking
Cool. You're
about,
just
which
fitting.
makes me
You're just
excited
fitting
and
8.
scared.
Okay. He's a good speaker. This guy. This fucking guy. Okay. So we'll do the second of each.
Sure.
Okay. So we'll start with the 3.
Okay.
I've never done this before. This is a
Neither.
pure moment right now.
Yeah.
But I don't fear anything. The only thing I fear is that dog. That dog's opinion.
It's
Hope you like me. Really hope you
it's
buy my
little,
new
but
album.
it's scrappy. you can tell it has
They're
heart.
doing something controversial. Get up the treats. Shush! No, I can't. I've trained you in this particular way. You cannot start barking.
Embarrassing me in
I
front of the whole park.
Okay. Sorry, I gotta sleep more. These things are just flying out
There's
of the fucking
acorns flying
trees.
everywhere. It's
Okay.
just-
Should have brought a beer. Okay.
yeah, no kidding.
Where were we? Oh yeah, right. 2 and 2.
Yeah, 2 and 2.
Okay.
And we're gonna start in the 3.
Yep. Yep. Ah.
Try that one again.
You got it.
I got the switch, but I fucked up the 3.
You had it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wait, 1 second. Okay, let me just internalize this. Got it.
I think for me, generally, I'm a lot more comfortable with the 4-beat figure than the 3-beat figure.
Okay.
Um,
I'm comfortable with neither of them.
I said more comfortable.
Oh, okay. All right.
So here we go.
Again? Beautiful. Nice.
Yeah.
And then you can go ahead and try the 3, and then the 4 is when like the 4 only exists in the 3-beat figure.
Right.
So can't do that.
Yeah.
But
But you can do whatever combinations you want.
yeah.
Like,
So yeah, like I start this from like 1, so into 2, 3.
oh,
No.
Oh,
So
sorry.
on the downbeats actually. So if we're gonna go through 1 to 8 with the downbeats, you know what I
oh, I
mean?
see. Okay, I get it now. I get it now.
So yeah. Yeah, right.
So count it in.
Right. I guess we didn't decide if we're doing 1 of each or 2 of each or
Let's
whatever.
do 2 cycles of each one.
2
That
cycles of
makes-
each. Okay, let's do it. Six. And then 8.
Oh, I gotta get that last one. That's
8
crazy.
8's a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. My hip flexor. Yeah. Yeah. Almost, yeah.
I'm losing it
That's
at the
close.
end.
Yeah, it's almost like
gotta
think of it like a
slow it
bass line or something. Dun, dun, ticka, dun, dun, tickun, dun, tickun, gun, tickun, ticka, dun, dun, tickun, gun, tickun, gun. And then there's the offbeat 8.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you guys try that.
Yeah, let us know how it sounds.
That sounds like a party. Seriously, it's ridiculous. I'm not that comfortable with the offbeat 8 yet, so I won't try it.
Right.
But like, yeah, Jerry Leak. Type in Jerry Leak is with an E on the end. Jerry, J with a J, and then Leake. And he has a lot of resources online. This 3-part system that he taught me called harmonic time, where you do the bell pattern, the feet, which we know, and then sing a melody. Usually like a West African folkloric melody, but he's also bringing in elements of like Indian classical music, which has a strong basis in like rhythm, and the system is very clear how to speak those rhythms. You know what I mean, with the solka two, and the conical. That's right. So yeah, so kind of first semester was all West African stuff, and then the next semester was all Indian classical. I think Northern Indian classical, I believe, if I remember correctly. So yeah, and so if you're interested in playing like music from around the world, or specifically jazz or anything creative, it's really only going to like arm you with more in order to express ourselves, in order to be founded in. But a question that you asked earlier was like, should everyone be learning like a bit of piano, a little bit of bass, a little drums? And I talked to a friend of mine recently, and he felt like compelled to study all those instruments, like with a great degree of integrity, but his love is with the saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, just play the saxophone then. Like, there's nothing worse than feeling like you should be in a room doing something that you don't really want to do. Like, I do my trumpet routine, that's one thing that I've noticed, that even if I don't want to do it and I do it, I'll feel better. And that'll kind of sets the ground for the rest of the day. Similar, like even if you're so tired and you don't want to go for a run, or it's raining, or if you don't want to stretch for 5 minutes, you will always feel better after that thing. Like, you'll always feel better after going for a run. Almost, after stretching, doing a little bit of, meditative, deep breathing, box breathing, Wim Hof breathing, doesn't matter. Just do something. Hold yourself accountable in some way. And, you'll find that you'll have a better relationship with yourself and probably with others as well.
Mm.
But and that's a hard thing to sort of talk about these days, because it's like, unless you've experienced the, you know, experienced what it's like to dive into something 100% and feel the benefits of that thing, the fruits of the labor, I mean, then you don't really know why you want to do it. And so, yeah, I know for years, okay, being a piano player would help me be a better musician, human being, trumpet player, but it was only because I, like, needed to find a way to, like, make demos of my music to send to the band that I got into piano.
Right.
Here's a direct reason to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to consult all those books and keyboarding, first year Humber and the Barry Harris exercises in ways it's like, now, oh, I see how this could benefit me right now. Oh, it would have been great if I did this 12 years ago. It's like Lao Tzu said in an Instagram post. He said, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
When the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. So, and there's so many things in life that can inform our music, like relationships,
Yeah.
just taking things to the next step, going beyond our comfort zone in every single, we're gonna play differently. And that's one story that Danilo was telling us. Wayne was sort of pressuring him to, like, get married, just do it, like, just do it, man. And, like, Danilo maybe didn't feel ready or something. I don't know exactly, but what I took away from it was that it takes courage to go 100% into something, even if you have anxiety, have reservations. If it doesn't feel, it's like, plunge into it. Like, we've all seen people that are, like, going into the swimming pool and it's like first one of the year, they're tiptoeing in.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Or get out of there. Like, if you trust your gut, and if it's
Oh yeah, definitely.
but if it's like something that you want to do and you're
Yeah.
like almost ready to jump in, yeah, then jump in.
Yeah.
Do it or don't,
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And or get out. Yeah, totally. Definitely. That's a thing too.
Yeah.
That's a thing too. And then, yeah, it made the music better, because like, the music is coming out of us like the sun comes, or like the light comes off a sun. It's like, there's no room for judgment. Like, love is literally the absence of judgment from the combination of different things I've experienced or read. So, yeah, even in my relationship, like, systems, like talk about practice time, like, we share a bedroom. We have a roommate. We share a bedroom because of costs. Oh, we have a landlord upstairs that doesn't like music. Well, that's not what he said when we signed the lease. So how do I figure this out? Well, I can't make videos because I can't really play trumpet in my apartment without a mute. I had to create all these baffles and, like, a little system to play into my IKEA wardrobe. Put a microphone in there because people start asking for recordings. Okay, well, I don't have the best microphone for trumpet, at least, but I'll make it work. And so it's like, yeah, like, resourcefulness, just trying our best. And, Stacy and I are just scheduling. Every minute counts. You're not going to get this minute back. You're just not. And so the more prepared we can be for all the shit that's going to come at us, all the unpredictable chaos that comes at us, got to have a system ready to go for it. Follow the system. Doesn't matter what you feel about it. We wake up, with the alarm. You wake up with the alarm, we get to put a little check mark next to I woke up with the alarm, and that adds to our total for the week, in which we reward ourselves at the end of the week. Wake up with the alarm, non-negotiable.
Yeah,
do something difficult first thing in the morning. Go for a brisk walk, stretch for a few minutes. Just, if you're tired, if you're hungover, whatever, nobody gives a fuck. Just do it. Just do it. I don't want to be all bootstrapping right now, but there's some things that you just got to do. And it's hard for me to say that as a fucking Canadian white male right now, to say that it's on us it's not. It's like, we're at the mercy of our neurons. Our mental health is at the mercy of so many factors, that some of which we have control over, like, our lifestyles, and some of which we don't, like our genetics. But knowing our genetics, we can...
And social conditions.
And social conditions, absolutely. Of course. Thank you. Big point. And the conversation is extremely complicated. But I think Jim Carrey said something once where it was like, I understand depression, I understand mental health, but if you're not exercising and getting enough sunlight and keeping in touch with the people that you care about most, I'm paraphrasing, then you don't really stand a fighting chance. You're not really giving yourself a chance. If you don't follow your heart and do the thing that you want and speak up when it's uncomfortable, it's like we have to do that. And I'm really excited for where things are headed right now, man. My love is with, like with the NBA players right now, they're just boycotting games. Like, we're not playing,
Yeah.
and that's kind of getting attention to the organizations. The White House is going to be what it is. Like,
Yeah.
we know what that's about.
Yeah.
But it's like the news cycle can suck us in, and it can take away from something as simple as like something so basic and yeah, something so meaningful. Like, music is really the way to change the world. It really is. It's the way to communicate with the dead too. Like, we don't want to talk about that, do we? But seriously, like, yeah. And you don't necessarily need psychedelics to tune into that.
No.
Like, psychedelics can bring a certain kind of stress and connections to the brain that may facilitate seeing what is sort of invisible to us at the moment. But it's there. It's all there. Like, depending on so many different, like, ancient superstitious beliefs of different cultures at different times, there's all this connective tissue.
Right.
There's all this connective tissue, and it's like, okay, well, why is it that powwows among Native Americans, Canada, what is now the US, what is now Mexico, even into Central America, they all sort of kind of happen, like, powwows started happening in the 1800s, sort of independent of each other, in some ways technically ignorant of each other, but they all kind of just happened at once. It sort of came up like like an antibody, or it just kind of came up. And it's like, if we're in tune with what's happening around us, then we can participate. But if you're gonna shove it down there, then it's gonna get stuck. It's a form of constipation. It's spiritual constipation.
Right.
That's not good, because it's got to come out at some point. So.
Well, you were talking about psychedelics.
Right.
It kind of ties into that, especially if you think of ayahuasca.
Oh man, yeah, okay.
Because
Here we go.
and I've never done it myself, but I know that, like, the amount of different species of plants in that jungle, there are like tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of different species of plants.
Yeah.
And there's one combination of like 2 or 3 specific plants that on their own do nothing, but when combined have this incredibly potent psychedelic effect. And like, how do they know to do that? And how do they know, like, how to prepare it? And if you ask them, they will say that the plants told them.
Yeah. It's all here. It's all here. If we decide to shed some light on, I sound like an asshole even saying this, but like, it's all, everything's perfect the way it is. And it's things are incredibly fucked up in this world right now. But it's not supposed to be any other way. And if we want to change it, we can change it.
Right.
But this is going to be around a lot longer than we are. I'll tell you that. This is, it's hosting us. What do you do when you go to someone's house and they're hosting you? You take off your shoes. It's offering us food, it's offering us water and wine. It's all here. Just take off your shoes. It's a metaphor. Be cool.
Never heard it put that way before.
Me neither. I just came up with it now. I didn't come up with it.
The plants did. They told
Well,
you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, like, if you think of how much we feel compelled to wear clothes. We feel compelled right now to wear clothes. What happened before clothes? Well, we probably wouldn't be in Canada in the winter, at least, or maybe we would. What did they do?
Yeah.
They were resourceful, otherwise they died.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel that way. We're waiting for the subway or something, or like waiting for the bus outside, or but it doesn't care if we're cold. It doesn't care if we're unhappy. It doesn't care if we're anything.
Yeah. Just exists.
Yeah. and something I've noticed among kids these days. I teach at a school out in the East End. I guess over Zoom these days. But
Hmm.
when I was 11 or 12 or whatever, that adolescent, I don't remember having. I remember feeling awkward and feeling like my place in the world is just not there yet, and like the prepubescent sort of feelings were. I was, there's a lot of things were going on at once, but in terms of the moment to moment anxiety, the moment to moment fear of missing out, the moment to moment being glued to a device, and the absence of connection with the thing happening in front of us, I didn't have that. Maybe I had it in some ways, but I don't remember it being as like what it is now. I'm concerned. I'm truly concerned because that delayed gratification that we were talking about earlier, it's not really on the table in the same way when you can have information or someone someone's location. you know I don't know. I guess I'm 31 years old. I remember the days when you just, knock on the door. Hey, is Anthony home? Oh no? Okay. Well, I guess I'll just go home now. It's like I didn't really. Yeah. But then again, I also I refrained from owning a cell phone until I went to college, or having a computer until I went to college, or I never had MSN Messenger. I didn't even use a computer. I literally, for making music's sake or learning music's sake, I just had a CD player or a tape player or a record player, like,
Yeah.
and that, and yeah, now if I'm learning music on my phone, it's like I'm trying to dial, scrub things. I mean, obviously we can use technology to our advantage, but if we don't know, if we don't know how to use something like that, like this might be controversial, but like if you don't know how to use something like cannabis as something to help and to mitigate, to sort of assist your life, if you don't know how and why it's happening in your life right now, then you're going to abuse it, and then it's going to abuse you.
Mm.
Same thing with alcohol. Same thing with psychedelics that, frankly, are things like mushrooms or LSD. I mean, like mushrooms are pretty natural, but generally pretty safe if you do it in that sort of shamanistic, controlled, supportive setting, whether it's
Mm.
one on one or in a group. But as a party drug, kind of missing the point in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh, same goes with sex. Any of these vices, like they're like, it is what it is. Like we have a choice whether to abuse it or not, and it'd be better if we didn't. You know, porn's free. It's like, oh well, that, like most guys watch porn like every day. I had to stop because I tried. What would it be like if I didn't? Okay, well, this is challenging. Okay, well, this is better. Oh, no, then it's challenging again. 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. And then I took a cruise ship gig. It's like, oh, there's no internet. So that's out of the question. Okay, great. So now I have no choice but to not.
Yeah.
Great. Amazing. I feel a lot better. It's like that energy just went somewhere else.
Right.
Went to the gym, went to practice, went to learn another language. Because when I go into France, I want to be able to like at least try to order in French. I mean, for goodness sakes, my mother's a French immersion teacher. I grew up learning French in Canada. Could I at least put that energy? Anytime you have an urge to do something that is going to be basically destructive, try and put that into something constructive. But then, that's arguable because it's like you're not doing what you really want to do. And so I've just decided to just follow my instinct and just kind of
Yeah.
like forget what I should be doing and do what I want to do. And yeah, our vices are our friends, but we need to treat them with respect. Otherwise, if we don't give respect, we won't get respect. We'll kind of lose it that way.
Teach you things.
Yeah. Then again, I'm only saying this because I've gone, an extreme in one direction or in another direction. Yeah, this pandemic has been hilarious. I sleep on the floor now. I sleep on the floor now because I sleep better. For the first 2 weeks, I wasn't sleeping better. But I knew that after a few weeks, based on some research and some guidance from George Collar, bass player, he told me, he's like, yeah, you sleep on the floor, and it's like, oh yeah, like when I lived in Japan, I was sleeping on the floor. It was like a little futon thing, but it wasn't like a thick mattress.
Right.
Sleeping on the floor, so it's like, oh my goodness, I can take a better breath now, because my bones are like, they're kind of being like, mattresses came a couple hundred years ago, arguably. Before that, it was basically something soft or a hammock. So why are we now doing mattresses? Why are we now doing shoes? And now everyone's feet are ticklish. It's silly. Like, we got to get back to our roots, and that takes courage, because the status quo is what it is. I think music can actually do a lot of good in our society if we can bring us back to some of these fundamental truths.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in today, Andrew. We went to a lot of interesting places, as we always do when we get together and we talk about music and life and anything
that was
else. Fun. So thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you? And are there any parting words that you have for the people? Is there anything coming up in particular that you would like them to check out?
Well, I am in the process of doing post-production on a quartet album of music that I've written and recorded. So that should be coming out in 2021. So check out for that. Just going to be Andrew McAnsh Quartet, and you could find me andrewmcanshmusic.com. You could look up my name and find me, even if you want, on Facebook, and send a message request in there. And I like to connect with people as personally as I can. I haven't put my stuff on Apple Music or Spotify for some reasons, but yeah. So Bandcamp has some of my past 2 records, Illustrations and Andrew McAnsh Sextet Live at the Jazz Room, and yeah, I'm really excited about this new music. Maybe I can get you guys excited too. It's hard to just throw music out into the world and just it's gonna, like, then what, But it's like we have to do it. We're kind of entitled to. I think that the Gita says we're entitled to our labor, but not the fruits of our labor. So we just got to keep doing it. Don't judge it. Just keep doing it, and I guess be kind, and maybe we can have more conversations, and that might clear up some misunderstandings that we have with each other, and maybe even ourselves. So be kind, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, man.